Hello everyone, I hope you had really amazing New Year's and I hope that 2018 will bring you a lot of board game goodies and wargaming goodies as well. But not to go too long, let's start this year. And this year we are kicking off with Godforsaken Scavengers. It's another game from Kickstarter and it describes itself as a dungeon crawler, unforgiving dungeon crawler where survival is the main goal. While thematically, yes, you will see that the mechanics are not necessarily there, but it is still a really interesting push your luck card game. So without further ado, let's have a look what's inside. Okay, so once we look in the box, we've got 115 cards with 70 unique cards and two small booklets. One over here with a short comic shows us how to play the game, gives us all the rules, tells us the overview, tells us the setup and all different cards, as well as a nice useful list of tips. The other one is a campaign mode, and this is one of the stretch goals unlocked in Kickstarter. We have a multiplayer campaign as well as a solo campaign, which means that the game, while it is cooperative and can play up to 6 people, can also be played on its own. So if by some case or by some means you are unable to meet your friends this evening, you will still be able to play the game. And to be honest with you, I've played both the multiplayer and the solo campaign, and solo campaign is quite interesting. Okay, so while our setup in the background is complete, the first thing we have to do is to decide which of these scenarios we want to play. As you can imagine, the colors indicate how hard or how easy they are, but even if we decide to go with this one, which is considered to be the easiest, the difficulty is still hard. Over here it tells us whether we are playing together, cooperatively, whether everyone is on its own, or whether it is a single player scenario. It tells us how many areas are in play, what is the difficulty, what is the play time, in this case very long, and whether it's a win condition for each one separately, or whether it is all players win or lose in order to win it. Also over here we have a short description, tells us what are the starting cards, and over here what other things you have to do. So in case of this scenario, we need to take the Undying and Radiant Rapture conditions, afflictions, out of the game. But with that we are ready, so let's have a look. Let's do an example scenario and show you how the game actually plays. Okay, so our setup is complete. We've got the cards, the locations over there. These decks have been shuffled. Now what we have over here is, like I said, the location deck. And these are the different places that we have to go through. So that would be the dungeon crawling part, that in here we have a different location and each location has a specific rules. So sometimes we will only make a single pile because we are going through a narrow passage. Sometimes we have to keep changing the piles. Sometimes we need to discard cards before we can take new ones. So there is a lot of different variants over there. What we have over here is affliction deck. Quite often in these cards, in each of the colors really, what we do have are the so-called affliction cards. These are the terrible effects we suffer. Now what we have over here is, this is the card that indicates the first player, so let's assume it's us over here, just enough so we can see it. Now how the game works, that in our turn we look up at the first location, and in this case it's Ooze Marsh. And if we have 4 or more cards in our hand limit is 1 less, which means we would have to discard a card. Because normally the hand limit is 5, but because of that location we can only have 4 cards. Now when you start the game, like I've mentioned earlier, the scenario tells you what cards you have. So in this case we do have 1 yellow and 1 orange card in our hand. But how the game works is that you decide on one pile from which you want to draw cards. And you will draw the cards till either you decide to stop, simply you take one of the cards that will have a negative effect and might give you an affliction. In such case, all of the cards that you already gathered over here, and this is so-called scavenged cards, they go to the bin, they go to the discard pile, and you get really nothing. Now, how to get through locations? Each location card has a number in the top corner. This indicates how much food do we need to survive going through that location. And let's have a look and try the cards. Let's grab the first one from here. Timely Salvation. You will notice that the cards also have number over here. So, as possibly you have guessed, if by the end of our turn we have enough cards to pay that cost, that means we are okay, we did not starve, and we are capable of going to the next location. Now in this case, let's assume our hand is empty, we have nothing there, it's not enough. We can continue drawing from the same discard pile, from the same scavenge pile. So like I said, we cannot swap it from here, 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 unless we are insane. And as you noticed, we have three different colors of cards. Yellow one is the least risky one, and it's more likely to give us something good. However, the benefit is not going to be that big. Orange cards are the medium ones, and red ones are highest risk but also highest reward. But as we started from this discard pile, we have to continue going through the same one. So let's go for another one. Forward Scout. Now, if you notice, each card has the cost, has different color, because they are color coding different types of actions. So over here, the green one is our salvation, which helps us protect others from getting affliction. Or Scout allows us to reveal cards from the top. So there are different cards that we can play. However, if we play them, we will not be able to use them to feed ourselves. So now let's say in this case we decided to take them. We will pay 3 and we discover next location, and so on and so on. However, what is important here is that when playing multiplayer, the food that we need to pay is for every single player. So it's not 3 for all of us. Each one of us needs to pay 3. However, it can be shared. So if I'm having 5 over here, I am able to pay, for example, 3 for myself, and that 2 food I had left over, I could pay for the next player next to me to help him out, which means they would only need to do 1. But what I really like about it, that even though it's just simple push your luck mechanics, when okay, yeah, let's draw it, let's go for it, yeah, survival instincts, yeah, swift hide, timely salvation, and then sudden ambush. Again, we would gain an affliction, discard 2 cards. But most importantly, all of these cards go to this card, and there is nothing there for any other players to take. So we really need to think deeply what we want to do and make sure that we don't push luck too much, because if we mess it up, we might take all of these cards away, and that will definitely cross the plans of other players as well. Okay, so let's wrap it up. Over here we've got everything we just discussed, but there are a few things which I did not mention. There are advanced rules which allow us to add this card, which adds a caravan mechanic, where we have certain cards over there, and it's a bit kind of like an additional storage for us. But also we have these cards. And these, as you can see, with absolutely lovely arts, because I love the art style, these show different classes that we are pretty much playing as players. We have Warrior, Berserker, Hunter, Outcast, Vanguard, Worker, Outrider, and these are also a stretch goal unlocked. While on one side we've got just a Survivor card, which represents us. On the other side we've got special classes with special abilities, so each class is capable of doing something different. And if I'm honest with you, even though it's like I mentioned earlier, mostly push your luck, get the card, do I want to risk it or not, it is a really enjoyable experience, because that moment when you want to think and you only need 1 more food and the next card is red, and you need to decide, do I want to take that card or not? Do I want to push my luck so far? Is that going to be the affliction that will kill me, or is that going to be that 1 food that will save my life? Okay, this time we survived. It is actually quite interesting, and it does give you a certain amount of pressure or excitement when you play. And especially when we play with other people, we know that they to a certain extent depend on us. So it's a really interesting mechanic over here. What I really like is also the campaign mode, where we've got the choose your own adventure type of encounters, plus all different locations. What I really like is that locations change the way game plays, adding certain specific conditions. And I love how afflictions change your game, and they can really do a lot of difference, like I've mentioned earlier. And with that, I think that's going to be all. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you might enjoy the game. I'm not sure if it's easily available in the shops. If not, I'm quite sure that if you will look for the company, which is Draw Black, you should be able to get a copy, maybe even directly from them. It was not an expensive game. I think the Kickstarter itself, and not an early bird, a normal one, was about £10–12. So it was a really interesting choice, and I mostly bought it because it is a single player mode as well as absolutely lovely art. And to be honest with you, after playing for quite a few hours, being honest with you, it is a really nice game and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So if you never heard of it, here you go, that's your first chance. If you are looking for some interesting game which doesn't require much skill but is really fun to play and you can play it even with up to 6 people, this is definitely an interesting choice. I never played anything similar to this and it is an enjoyable experience. So if you love walking around as an insect trying to survive in a post-apocalyptic world, the game is for you. Thanks for watching, remember to subscribe and see you soon in another video. Take care and happy gaming!